Meeting of the Sedona Fire District is now called to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Join me in a moment of silence for all the first responders and service members who have passed since our last meeting.
Let's take a moment to remember the 7 police officers and 9 firefighters that have passed since our last meeting.
Thank you.
Roll call, Helen McNeil, Chair.
Present.
Corey Cooperman, Clerk.
Present.
Diana Christensen, Member. Here. Scott Springett, Member.
Present.
Lance Waldrop, Member.
Here.
Chief Mazulis, are we honoring certain members of our team?
We are. Jeremy was unavailable and John is running around with Jeff Wassel as part of our new battalion training program that we've been working on. So with that, I will read a short bio and then we'll right here. So both these gentlemen were hired in July of 2011. Jeremy Lilly acquired his paramedicine in August of 2012, and then he was promoted to an engineer in 2025. Multiple recognitions, Community Service Award, Customer Service Award, unit citations on multiple occasions. And he's got an associate's degree from Paradise Valley High School and then another one from one in emergency management and one in fire science from Paradise Valley High School. I misread that. Jeremy also is the commander of our honor guard, one of the leads on our firefighters charity, and dips his fingers into multiple other things. He's a busy guy and does a lot for this organization. And we've got John Scaife, promoted engineer in 2021 and then to captain in 2023. Unit citation, and in 2021 he got firefighter of the year, and he has an associate's degree in fire science from Yavapai Community College and is almost done with his bachelor's degree. And as I stated, he's currently one of our battalion task book folks that is out there learning the craft and looking at his future. And John is lead on our peer support team, critical piece. He puts together some pretty fantastic quarterly training on mental health with our folks and has done a great job of working with Buzz to get that team up to speed. And so we celebrate 15 years with the district as it relates to these two gentlemen. So I want to say thank you to both of them. They've been and will continue to be an asset.
That's great. Thank you. And well, I doubt they will be listening to the recording of the meeting.
They do.
Oh, well, good. Then that.
Of all the hits on YouTube, most of them are employees watching the meeting.
No, that's good. Good to know.
Yeah.
Well, then Jeremy and Jonathan, I want to echo what the chief said. And on behalf of the board, thank you for your service. Thank you for all you do for Sedona Fire. Thank you for what you do for our community. Our community is safer because of the work that you do. So thank you. And we look forward to you being with us for another 15 years. Take care. Right. Chief Mazulis, are there members of the public who wish to speak?
We do not have any submissions.
Okay. All right. So let's move to the consent agenda. Current contents of the consent agenda are the regular board meeting minutes from June 16th of 2026. Are there any issues, or can we proceed with a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just that I'll have to abstain because I was not here. So I won't be voting on this.
As will I. That's correct. Yes, you're both not here. Correct. Okay. So the remaining board members, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. We've approved the consent agenda. Elise, is Mr. Bulger with us?
You not.
I have a text string bubbling, so
Stand by momentarily.
Yes, let's stand by for a moment.
blame it on the monsoons.
If I'm wondering if we should push ahead with your report, and when Gabe is able to join us.
That is your
Hold on one moment. It looks like
bubbling.
Sarah is supposed to be, she said she is in a board meeting.
Oh, she's in the
Um,
technical difficulties.
yep.
So why don't we press ahead with your report, Chief, and Elise, if Sarah or Gabe.
Yeah, it will be Sarah.
Yes, I'm gonna try to get her into this meeting real quick.
Okay, that's fine.
But I'm so sorry. I don't know what meeting she.
Wonder if she had the canceled link.
That's what I'm wondering. I opened up the one that was on our. Sorry, folks, technical difficulties.
No problem.
Okay. All right. If you'd like, I could jump ahead and give Sarah time to try to get in and join the meeting.
Why
and
don't we
then-
do that?
Okay.
Yeah.
She's
Let's
got
do
it now.
All right.
All
Let
right,
me know when she's ready.
All right.
We'll pause the chief.
all right, Kirk Rydell.
Kirk is that.
I'll go first. I'll do operational activities.
Okay.
As stated, Chief Coyle is on the fish hook fire, with his team. He went up as the incident commander, a trainee, I believe.
What state is that, Chief?
It's on the Colorado-Wyoming border. And I don't wanna, it was a Wyoming forest, but I think he's in Colorado.
I've hiked there in the snowies.
Yeah, it's right up there in
Yeah.
that region.
Okay.
As it relates to significance events this month, I don't have to explain to the board, most staff's energy outside of normal operations was supporting the activities with the pocket fire. We had resources on the fire. We had a rapid extrication module truck was on the fire with a crew of 4. And then Brandy, one of our firefighters, was the medical unit leader for a bit on the fire. And then Matt Ortiz, one of our firefighters, was division on the fire. And then Todd Miranda, for the first part of the fire, was on as a safety officer and was really engaged with some of the first few days of the incident, getting a lot of that stuff. And resource intensive fire, once the team got established, other than our resources on the fire, we just really focused on supporting efforts in the community and added as an adjunct resource, we had quite a few heat-related emergencies with firefighters on the fire that we responded to assist with. While the fire had pretty robust ambulances staffed to the fire, they were spread out. And so because of the nature of the emergency, just to have our ambulances here pop over there to help out made more sense. We treated it like we would a resident or a visitor hike out, and took care of that. And just managing regional stuff. It's kind of been some of the biggest stuff with significant events this month. Human resources, really working hard. We locked up the firefighter candidate and we've got 24 and that should be coming to the
Great.
interviews. That is good. We had to add a day for interviews. And then other news in human resources, Christy and Elise and Gwen, the past couple of weeks celebrated a year with us. So I want to mention that because they made it and they stayed. So that's a bonus. Yeah. And so, and just, I could spend 2 hours talking about what the three of them have done to move our organization forward, but I think we cover it throughout the year. And I don't want to discount their efforts, but it's been a game changer for us. And I'll cover some of that a little more detail. Other thing is we had some, the PFA Trust, our healthcare provider, as we've discussed, had some significant rate increases across the state. With that, they lost quite a few of their large clients. And so a lot of the normal process flow as it relates to, open enrollment and wages and benefits for our folks, to keep them on track, it took a lot of work from our internal folks because they got a lot of the information. They've got to do a complete wash and processing of all the information for all the employees in our payroll software and all that stuff. And where they usually have weeks to do it, it was compressed to a very short timeline. So really supporting staff to get that done in kind of a last minute scenario. And then elsewhere in administration, Christy's wrapping up RFQ for some of the legal stuff. And we're working on finalizing the rollout for a new uniform vendor that I know is going to reduce costs for our employees and provide a quicker, streamlined product. Our last vendor got to the point where it was months for a t-shirt order to come in and then they would switch the screen print. And it was just, my anecdotal frustration was my shirts say E. Mazulis and I just asked for a D. Since I do so much with the public, I'd like my name spelled out, and they were unwilling to take the dot away and put a D in there. And I know it's simple, but it's the devil's in the details. And our new uniform company is well established and should be an improvement for our folks. We got a new liability insurance vendor, saved about $30,000 and expanded the service or the package, if you will. And they've been really good to work with. I'm continuing to go through every contract that exists at the district and update and or modify and just true it up. Garbage service, APS, you name it. It's just Elise and staff have been going through a bunch of that stuff. And then we're working with our computer nerd, Brian Espiau, up at Station 5, our fire engineer that doubles as an IT guru, and he's digitizing a lot of our stuff. And it just modernize it. And then looking at social media policies, one, we have a group of young folks for recruitment, retention, and just getting our message out.
Thank you very much.
Getting our message out. And with this current election season, it's clear that a lot of people like to use these platforms for nefarious reasons. And so we're just cleaning up policy and procedure. And with that social media note, I forgot to write it down off my phone, but do you have those readily accessible or do you want me to just read them off? Yeah. I got it. I'll beat you.
Got him.
So with our social media, the last 30 and 60 days, we were pushing 2.4 million views on our posts, and 3-second views 634,000, and then 1-minute views 147. So that's insanity to me. I mean, the reach, the extra efforts we're doing to get our message out, and obviously a lot of this was related to the pocket fire, but day after day, staff's getting feedback that how much more comfortable our community felt with this current event because of the social messaging and the sharing that we did. And so with that, responsibility to appropriately share information, And, you know, there are some people that say some horrible things on social media, and as a public entity, there's a lot of things we can't do to distract people from deal with that. So we're just upgrading policy, and I park on that for a minute because it's important, because it seems that it has become our most appropriate and effective mechanism to reach our public. You know, whereas in the past it might have been board meetings or the local newspaper. Seems like social media has taken over, so it's important for us internally to tighten up process with that.
Chief, if you could say a few more, just a couple details about that when you say to look at policy and upgrade policy, and in what respect?
Just so we've opened the door for more users to be able to post content, for example, and making sure all those users know. One is a junior firefighter that's really good with the social media, but say somebody starts barking about sidewalks on our Sedona Fire page, and he may or she may want to hide it or delete it. Well, you can't do that. And so just helping them navigate the rules so that we don't violate First Amendment rights or create an environment that comes back on the district. And then just what's appropriate to post, and really tight restrictions on scene content so that we don't inadvertently, even down to, say it's a 1956 Chevy hot rod that's a local that gets in a crash. We probably wouldn't post a photo of that car accident because everybody knows that's Bob's car. Whereas if it's a 2006 Honda Accord, it's a little safer to post that picture if the patient's skewed and the license plate skewed. So the little details that can get you. Looking at our firefighters on scene, if they post a picture of our firefighters on scene at a house fire, and two of the guys, they may be cleaning up hose, but two of the guys in full gear with no gloves on carrying fire equipment, we're going to get slayed by the firefighting public because they're like, you guys don't wear your safety equipment. So just really tightening up the details so that it's good content and it's quality content, and we don't have to go back on it. We've also gotten Damie. Damie's a guru in a lot of things we've discovered, and getting her into content and like rules for her. She's a professional adult, but she doesn't have a lot of experience with our district. So she may not know we shouldn't do that, So just making sure we're messaging to our public, keeping them informed, but doing it in the right way. And
Thank you.
Keeping it
That's
clean.
interesting.
Yeah.
I would add, I'm not, those of you know me know that I'm not wildly on social media.
Yeah.
But I have noticed a difference in the Sedona Fire Facebook page and stuff. It's a noticeable improvement.
Thank you. That's good feedback. And the in-state intent is to educate our public on what services we provide and educate them on, what is happening in town, and, dispel rumors about, we could spend another hour on the phone calls that Damie got that were, things. You can't build a book for her, a cheat sheet, because some of these questions were making me scratch my head. Like, how did they come to that conclusion that was now the case? And then having to dispel these rumors, it was a good exercise for her. Is that a good way to put it? But that's a lot of the stuff going on in just in operations and administration. And do we have Sarah? All right, so I'll kick back to finance report.
And by one. Okay, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, sorry about that. I had the wrong meeting link. So I apologize for the tardiness. I am covering for Gabe this afternoon. He's sorry he could not join. He had a issue come up that he had to take care of right away. So looking at our June numbers, our total revenue for the month of June came in at $865,000, which is over budget by about $20,000. You can see there on that first graph. If you move over to the third and fourth graphs, that kind of gives you the variance of each of our types of categories of revenue. So our tax levy revenue for the month of June was under budget by $72,000, and our non-tax levy revenue was over budget by $92,000. So the tax levy revenue is predominantly related to timing, and you'll see that when we get to the next slide on our property tax collections with Yavapai County specifically. And then our non-tax levy revenue of that $92,000 over budget is really driven based off of a couple of big things. Our ambulance revenues for the month of June was up about $100,000 over budget for the month. As well as interest income was about $64,000 over budget for the month, and then wildland was down about $67,000. Looking at our total expenses for the month of June, we are over budget. We came in at $1.8 million worth of cost. That's up over budget by about $60,000. You can see there, looking at the second half of the chart, kind of the categories of expenses that you see, with the predominant driver of that variance really being our personnel, which was over budget for the month by about $104,000. That's predominantly related to some increases in our overtime utilization and then associated benefit costs with that. If you want to move to the next slide, this is a better picture of kind of 1 month is not always a good indication of where we're trending. And since we're at a full year mark now and closing out the fiscal year, this is a good look at kind of how we ended for the year. Obviously, these are unaudited numbers, but for total revenue, I'm happy to report our revenues were much more higher than budget. And we can talk about that in just a second. And our total expenses were under budget for the fiscal year. So total revenue, we were at $27.7 million, which was over budget by 1.6. Again, similarly, like we saw in the June, if you move over to the third and fourth bars there, the tax levy revenue was right on budget for the fiscal year, just over about $5,000. And really the big driver of that increase in revenue is in our non-tax levy revenue, which was over budget by 1.6 million for the year. The big drivers of that, kind of what we talked about in the June, our ambulance revenue for the full year was $766,000 over budget. So bringing in most of that's due to increase in runs and transports and things like that. Our interest earnings were also over budget by about $500,000, that's just a good indication of the fact that we've been able, and you'll see when I get to the last slide, how our cash balances have ended. And because we were able to hold a lot of more money in our cash, we're earning better interest income on that money. In addition, while wildland I mentioned in June was down, fiscal year we were actually up by about $337,000 compared to budget. And then looking at our expenses, as I mentioned, our total expenses were under budget for the year. So we ended at $23.7 million worth of total expenses, which was under budget by about $183,000. You can see there we do have some big puts and takes between the different types of categories of cost. Our personnel was up over budget by about $418,000. A lot of that has to do with the additional wildland. So as I mentioned, our wildland revenue was up over budget. In order to have more revenue, we need to have more costs to support that. So that's really driving that personnel up, as well as some overtime utilization, increases in our overtime utilization. Our buildings and land, go ahead.
Sarah?
Yeah. Thank you. This is Corey Cooperman. Before you go on, just because we do have, someone in the audience who might like to even know more about that wildland, that cost is offset. And if you could explain that a little bit more, it'd be great.
Of course. So our wildland is reimbursable. So when we are sent out on non-district, so that means not within the Sedona fire boundaries, we can send resources out. And those resources are reimbursed, the cost of those resources are reimbursed back to the district. Once the wildfire has been completed, we turn in all of our receipts. That includes not only our personnel costs, like our labor costs, but it also includes any travel costs that we might have to get to that fire, as well as any room, board, food, things like that while we're out on those wildlands. That's 100% reimbursable, and in fact, they pay us more typically than what we are expensing, and we see about a 20% markup on that cost that we are able to then utilize to help offset additional increasing our reserves or increasing our capital improvement or funding it back into the wildland program to be able to continue to go out on those assignments.
And Sarah, I want to add a point of clarity. While she stated when we send people out of district on assignments, the pocket fire, a portion of it was in district. However, because those resources were ordered by the type 1 incident management team, the same rules apply, even though they may have still been in district. So
Yes.
while we had resources supporting a fire in our district, we still fell under our cooperators agreement where they were being compensated by the fire.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And the overall bottom line is that wildland deployments are a net gain for us.
They are a net gain, typically about that 20-25% margin.
And the financial piece is obviously what we focus on in this presentation, but beyond that, it's, the anecdotal thing is our folks see these large scale fires in other people's backyards. So, one, you get the training and the experience. So when those events occur in district, we're better prepared. It's not the first time they've seen a large scale event. So there's a lot of tertiary benefits to it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sarah.
No problem. Just real quick on the building and land, what you can see there is also over budget for the year by about 41,000. That's really just due to some of our special projects that we've been working on to do some repair and maintenance at our stations, and that's driving that. Next slide. This doesn't mean a whole lot because we are at the end of the year, but typically we look at this slide. Go ahead.
You're good, Sarah.
Okay. Typically we look at this slide as we're going through the year to make sure we're trending on par. We're not spending a ton of our budget like in the first part of the year. And so since we are done with the fiscal year, we spent 99% of our expenses, which is what we reflected in the previous slide, showing that we did have some underage on our budget expenditures compared to budget. So from an actual perspective. Moving to the next slide, this slide here represents kind of how much of our cost is dedicated to certain types of expenses. And by far, it's always the case here, and that's why it's super important to really focus on that personnel side. But 86% of our expenditures are related to people and our salaries and wages and benefits and things like that they receive. So 86% of our cost is related to that personnel. We have operations is about 7%, with communications is about 4% of our expenditures, and managerial is at 3%. And then if you want to move to the next slide, this is our cash position. So I'm super proud of this slide, and the team should be as well. But this just shows us kind of year over year what it's looking like from our cash position, meaning how much money do we have, not only from a cash, but also looking at our assets and liabilities, but really focusing on that green line there. And that green line represents how our cash looks from at the end of 2025 fiscal year compared to where we ended in 2026 on June 30th. And we were able to increase our cash there, you can see pretty significantly by about $2.9 million. And then in addition to that, looking at our other assets, we were also able to increase that as well by that $1.5 million, with only increasing our liabilities by about $400,000. So really that gives us a pretty significant, about a $4 million increase in our net cash position year over year, which is something the team should be really proud of as we continue to, look at our cash resources that we have on hand, as well as continue to monitor our expenditures. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have, but that does complete my report.
Are there any questions for Sarah?
Just another comment. Yeah, that the cash reserves that we all are proud of. It might be good to say it's not just a matter of hoarding money, that we actually have some very big needs for that money. Chief, if you'd like to say a couple of words about that.
No, absolutely. And we've discussed this in the past, but we've through strategic plans and community groups since 2005, we've identified a series of projects that have been on the district's radar. And, the economic downturn in 2008 impacted forward progress on those initiatives. And then again, in 2016, we attempted to do a bond that failed to address those known needs in the district. And so at that time, the governing board decided let's start saving to do these projects. And the time is now. We're at the point where we're doing said projects. And so while that is a healthy cash position, we're gonna, it's purposeful. It's not to put away money for something we may want to do someday. It's to identify known needs and to improve service and quality of care to the community. And so, as you know, we've got Station 4, which will be a financial piece. We're upgrading the radio projects. We're looking at Station 5. Those will all be costly projects, and this position that the board has put us in will allow us to keep moving on those projects purposefully and get them done.
Very good. Thank you, Chief.
Just an example, I mean, the 401 Jordan property was bought in cash.
Yeah, exactly.
No debt or leverage on our part.
Yeah.
Chief, before we, any other questions for Sarah? Okay, since I believe the Captain Scaife has arrived,
Yes.
can we take a moment to congratulate him in person on his 15th year?
I said a bunch of stuff about you. I said a bunch of nice things. That they're recorded if you want to hear them.
All right.
But I and the board and staff want to thank you for 15 years of dedicated service.
Thank you.
And I know you prepared a speech.
No, I didn't. I didn't know this was happening today.
Oh, okay.
But no, thank you. It's just been, I mean, some of the 15 best years of my life. So thank you.
So as part of this year's budget, as stated, John is one of the folks with an open battalion chief's task book, and we've purposely committed resources to a training program that's going to afford them an opportunity to get around with Buzz and the other BCs and Jordan when he's working, and Buzz and really help learn the position. You know, we got good feedback from labor and from the candidates that, you know, for example, one thing that really resonated with me is they said, I really want to work on my BC task book, but by the time I run calls and I prepare my engineer for their task book and guys wanting to be captains, I ran out of time. And then a lot of our captains had scheduled opportunities on shift to switch with each other, to be at Station 4 with the battalion chief. And then we'll have an injury or we'll have somebody go out on wildland, and then that best laid plan for the next few shifts just evaporates. And so this purposeful program is going to afford us the opportunity to get these guys ready for next spring when we put them through the paces. And I think John will get there. We've got hopes. Yeah.
Well, once again, congratulations, Jonathan. Thank you for your service. I was so concerned that we took advantage of the fact that Captain Scaife was here that I didn't, A, thank Sarah for her time and presentation, and B, I didn't ask for a motion to approve this month's financial report. So you got wrapped, Jonathan, you got wrapped into the financial report too. So can I have a motion to
I'll
approve?
make that move. I move to approve the financial report
I'll
for
second.
June of 2026.
Then second, Diana, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. We've approved the financial report. Sarah, thank you, and thank you for your patience with my enthusiasm for our team.
No, you're totally okay. And that was a good opportunity to celebrate. So not a problem.
All right.
Back to you.
On to Kirk.
All right, good afternoon.
Yeah.
So June is right on track with every other month we've had. Picking up stuff. We got 4 investigations I want to talk about after we blow through this real quick. And 39 residential inspections, 51 commercials. So we're getting out there and getting to the businesses. Having that new inspector on board is key for that. I can send him out right now. I've almost got him off his leash and I'm setting him free. But a couple more little things I got to work on. Plan reviews, we had 32 of them just in the month of June, and that's almost the norm anymore. They just keep coming.
People are
in.
building Sedona.
I just got met with a developer today on some land that they want to split into 5 more lots that are kind of off the grid. They're going anywhere they can to build right now. We had 14 Firewise assessments. They were all residential. We did no presentations. So if we want to jump into these fire investigations, we can talk some interesting stuff. So the first one was in the village of Oak Creek. These two gentlemen were hired to clean up a yard. And crews were called out for somebody burning. This was in stage 2 restrictions. And they had no idea how this fire started. However, we did find the weed burner torch in the shed. And it had potential. It was getting outside the fence, heading for the wash. This is why in Sedona fire, we do not allow broadcast burning or weed torches because it gets away from you. You're burning away. You don't realize what's happening behind you. And that's what happened. They got away from them. So next one, this was a resident. This was on Father's Day morning. Up in the crawl space of the garage is where this started. Probably bad wiring, it's hard to tell, but it's an older home built in the 80s, early 80s. She was up, smelled smoke, looked around, couldn't find it, looked up and saw smoke coming out of the can lights in the kitchen. And called 911. The crews got there quick, kept it to that area of the home, right there in the living room and kitchen area. They had to tear all that out to make sure it was confined. But she said she's had a lot of rodent issues with the home, and I would probably imagine that they got up in that crawl space and were up in there and chewing on wires and set things on fire. So,
Can you tell us
Yes.
what street that's on?
this is on Adobe Circle. So this one, this was my investigation in Rimrock, and the reason I want to talk a little bit about this is we have a joint task force amongst the investigators between Cottonwood, Verde Valley, Sedona. There's only, all 3 of us in our office have been through the course, so we're investigators. We also had 3 on the line here that have been through the course. And there's only 2 more. One, the fire marshal for Copper Canyon and his inspector. So when this broke out, there was nobody available, and the fire marshal from Copper Canyon had dispatch call me. And it's a task force to where those put out a blanket page to all of us. Need an investigator, call dispatch, and then whoever's available, please show up. We try to do investigations with at least 2 people, especially when you're inside a building or in structure, just for safety reasons. I was solo on this one, but we don't know exactly how it lit. No witnesses. All of a sudden, fire on an acre parcel on a nice hot day. Winds were blowing, gusting about 30, 35, and it's wound up being 5 acres before it was over.
Really?
Jumped the road, and that one home right here, you see right there with the shed, it got to the shed, the propane tank took out their car before they can get it stopped, and it continued on down the road into the next house. The residents were out there with garden hoses working it. Copper Canyon was out there. They said the Forest Service was out there, but I didn't see them. But so yeah, that's part of what we do. We've done multiple. I've had Copper Canyon come up here and work with me on investigations. I go down there, work with them on investigations. So we all work together. There's not very many of us.
I want to park on that for a minute. Year over year, there may be an imbalance in resource sharing just because we can't schedule fires. But why it's critical for me to support that is with that, it's also the frequency of fires. And with our, Perk's the example, and John's fairly experienced, but as we develop our community risk reduction division, the opportunities to practice what they learn in the classroom setting is few and far between. So by having this regional resource, it gives us the capacity to get more sets and reps, if you will. And while the easy money is in just saying, typing up this 4-page report and listing it undetermined, it's our opinion that it adds value, that if the more experience our community risk reduction arson investigators have, the more capacity they have to identify the cause of the fire. And that matters to our residents because as we know, insurance companies are not quick to pay out. And if we can have the experienced personnel go in there and say it started here because of this, that's defensible for the homeowners to recover their costs and their loss. So That was another big piece of why we did the IGA and the sharing of resources. And then frankly, they had a large warehouse fire and that went to the ATF last year in Camp Verde. And they asked for our help because of the size of the fire. But in addition to that, fortunately, Sedona Fire doesn't get a lot of ATF level fires. And so Kirk got to experience a whole new realm of fire investigation he rarely would have the opportunity to see. And so it's a good partnership, and it's been working out well.
I was down there 3 days with them. We spent 3 days on that one. But on this one here, like that picture you see, the whiff of smoke, that's off a ring camera from that house. That's all I had to go on. And then another house over to the left side of that picture had a perfect ring camera view of the whole thing. And no, it only works when you go to the doorbell and ring the doorbell. That's the one I wanted to see. But
That smoke coming up just from,
that's when they
The
first saw the fire right there.
but there's no house there. That's
No,
just
the
from
house is,
fully.
across the road and up the street where this house is. But when you have winds blowing 30, 35 on 105 out,
Yeah.
it just blew right across that, and then the winds shifted, turned around, and blew it right crack across the street into that next parcels. So they got lucky, and that's all that happened to their house. It was getting ready to get up underneath that eaves from that shed. The Copper Canyon wouldn't have got it. So as far as the class goes, it's a 4-week class, and it's over a 2-year period. But you get everything from investigations to courtroom. Last week, you're literally with a prosecuting attorney and a defense attorney, and they put you on the stand and they grill you. So you get to learn that aspect for if you have to go to court. It's very educational for me. I was glad I did it. And on that note, Clarkdale had a fire too, and they needed investigators to help out. So we went down, myself and Danny Robinson went down and worked with Fire Marshal Nate Bailey and his inspector. And as you can see, the amount of debris in the house, they were hoarders. We had to go back in and look for potentially a second person that wasn't there.
This was a single fatality
This
fire.
was a single fatality. So the fatalities, we have to stay there until the recovery's done. So we were there to midnight, waiting for that to take place, and then back the next day to continue the investigations. But then again, we all share that same, even though it belongs to Copper Canyon, because this is Clarkdale and that's their Copper Canyon, Verde Valley, Clarkdale. So it's Nate's fire. He's got to investigate it, but we have to do all the supplemental stuff for him too. So we all work together on it. And lastly, oh, wait a minute, I forgot that slide. So that kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to be laid out as. That's our little decon site. Those two guys right there were in Tyvek suits because of the nature of what's in there. Because when we're in there after the fire, it's out, but it's still off gassing. There's still carbons. There's still all the bad things of a fire still there. And we may be in there for 2, 3, 4 hours. You usually come out after every 30 minutes to take a break, back in. 30 minutes to take a break, come back in. But and that's my inspector, Danny Robinson, showing off his N95 mask. And lastly, as far as events goes, last month, First Responders Camp, which is put on by the city of Sedona and Sedona PD, they have kids for a few hours for 4 or 5 days, kind of show them how it is to be life in the law enforcement side of things. And then one day they come here to see what the fireside does. So thank you to the crews in the C Shift Station 1 that was with the kids this time, and showing them how they live here, how a day-to-day life is here at the fire station. And unless there's any questions, I think that's all I had.
Well, Kirk, I think you know where I'm going.
I know where you're going.
Were there any Firewise inspections requested by any owners of short-term residential operation, corporate enterprise?
I don't think so, no. I think they're all residents.
My neighborhood has crossed the 80% mark in STR saturation. I have a feeling within 10 years, I'll be the sole permanent resident of that neighborhood. And as we've discussed before, when a house goes into an STR situation and you bring in a contractor to keep up the physical plan as well as the yard, the fuel tends to accumulate because they're there to, you know, blow dirt around with gas blowers and, you know, rake a few leaves and leave. But whereas a long-term resident might be maintaining the defensible space and calling you, and calling the agency for a fire-wise assessment, this isn't happening. And we're at the toe of Oak Creek Canyon, and the Venturi effect starts right where that neighborhood is. So I think it's, you know, I just wanted to reflect on that because you interface with the city of Sedona in their compliance, because we don't have any enforcement capacity, but they do.
They do.
And it's important that that relationship be maintained. And if it were to go away, we might have a potential problem.
It's not gonna go away. The
Not
city
on our
has-
side.
Not on our side. The city is in their infant stages of Firewise right now. They kind of got things started implemented and they're trying to run with it. They took it to their city council meeting last month. And honestly, I haven't talked to Christian this week or this month, actually, the next couple of weeks. So I'm not sure where they're at. I know they want to meet again, but yes, I can address.
I think about, you know, the most vulnerable in our community, the ones that are most susceptible to insurance either being canceled or insurance premiums going up because our risk symbol goes up. And it's such a very broad spectrum of individual elements that come together to create risk. And you being in risk management, because that's what you all do, I think it's important that the constituency understand how the tapestry and the interwoven components to ensure that the district, not just the city of Sedona, but all the landmass we cover, is very interdependent on these things coming together to ameliorate or to reduce or to manage risk accordingly. So my spiel is done.
I think we need somebody in the Firewise department just to do that.
Yeah.
Another person.
The city?
No, in my office.
Okay.
Thanks, Kurt. I appreciate it, sir.
Carla.
Okay, any other comments for Kirk? Kirk, thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Good
it.
job.
Chief,
All right, I'll be buzzed today. He's getting a dental implant. And as you're all aware, those sorts of scheduled surgeries, you don't have any control over them.
No.
They tell you when to be there, especially in northern Arizona. I met with my the president's council with the Dave Cheney, the president of NAH, and got some updates. They're talking with the city about opportunities with their property at Sedona Emergency Center right now. And nothing in concrete, but they're floating all sorts of different ideas, you know, expanded services and more to come on that. NAH's financial position is good, but there are some substantial changes to Medicare, Medicaid that are going to have large impacts to the hospital system. And so they're gearing up for that. And I bring that up because it's going to lead into, our one ask from the fire services was that they bring the cardiology back to what it was a decade ago, where we had 24/7 cath lab, and they aggressively pursued that. And then the age-old story, one of the interventional cardiologists made a go at it for a year, and this community wasn't conducive to his family life. And so, you know, as we interweave affordable housing and all these other things, we've got a interventional cardiologist, and I'm not going to pretend to know what their income is, but I would imagine it's substantial. And even at that rate, just the opportunities for family was a struggle for him and his spouse, and they made a decision to move to a larger area. And that's what they face. And so they're suffering in that and many other areas as it comes to, you know, primary care providers and interventionalists and just the different specialties with healthcare. And so they're really reviewing what to do with that stuff. And our committee's got a lot of engaged local residents from the Sedona area that have been on the NH board or are retired physicians or are really embedded in this community. And I think they're bringing a really good optic to NIH to help inform their decisions on how healthcare manifests in Sedona. So I'm forever hopeful, as you know, that the partnerships will continue to improve things. But,
Chief, is their commitment to keeping our emergency
absolutely.
active?
They have no plans to change status. In fact, they're trying to improve it any way they can. And so, and then internally, Buzz is probably the most active division chief with the different committee groups. And we've yet to get state direction on the new federal mandates for narcotics, but we're ready. We've built new boxes the guys carry, and it was really great. Something I want to park on is even our youngest firefighters understand the importance of avoiding costs, for the district. And one example, it seems simple, but you have to lock up your narcotics in a safe in the fire truck now. And so our drug box was, I don't know, 24 inches by 18 inches. And so the safe to lock that box was very expensive, and it took up a lot of space in the fire truck. And so our guy, this young committee, dug into the rules, and frankly, the narcotics have to be locked up, not all of our drugs, because we carry epinephrine and a lot of breathing treatments and things that aren't. And so the district invested, I think, $180 in some smaller boxes that go inside the big box that has all the narcotics in it. So now we can get a smaller safe, and the narcotics box goes in the safe, reducing costs by $10,000–$15,000. And so just them, us old dogs are like, no, you got to have the box. And they're like, no, we can have two. It's okay. And their willingness to be like, let's change stuff up. So that's one thing. Thing two is constantly reviewing weight distribution when we go backcountry and how we carry stuff in. And, if you've got a 5-person crew, used to be there was one bag, and then there was the basket we carry people in and the wheel. And there's two guys freeloading, not carrying anything. And so they worked hard to appropriately distribute our gear so that everybody's got a load now, and it reduces the weight substantially for each person. And then the other big news with EMS is we've got a new device, this polar cooling device for heat emergencies. And we've seen some wonderful outcomes already. And it's a pretty simple product. It's a cooling blanket that also cools IV fluids, and it has ice packs. And we had a couple of substantial heat emergencies last month. We had a couple of fatalities, or at least one fatality, but we had a couple of heat emergencies last month that we'll never know, but I would argue we're heading towards a bad outcome. And this device, this relatively cheap disposable device, was the game changer out on the trail. So, and that again is our crews geeking out online and going to conferences and learning about new products and stuff. And then we had a substantial cardiac arrest call, hoping we can get the gentleman in here to recognize him and the crew. But it was really a one-off. The outcome was positive because he had early CPR on scene, and just the investment we make on our crews for training and education, because you're not all medical professionals, but you can probably appreciate that you've all watched enough TV shows. They shocked this gentleman 10 times.
Oh my.
And worked on him in his home for 45 minutes before transporting him. And that's unheard of. Scott can tell stories about how that's not how it used to work, but back in the day. But those stories are repeated over and over, and there's an expectation now we'll get ROSC, or return of spontaneous circulation. And it used to be an anomaly. It used to be maybe it'll happen someday. Now it's becoming more regular. And this particular call, I'm purposefully not covering a lot of the details, but that this individual is well known to the district, and I think he'd be willing to come and I would like to recognize him, but more to come on that. But yeah, just a testament to our crew's training. Sometimes the guys are like, oh, we're always training. Well, look what happened. Sorry, did a really good job. And then, so that was pretty special to me. Fleet activities and updates. As you know, you approved purchase the fire trucks, and I'll give you an update in 2 to 3 years.
By the way, Chief, so we had Braun Northwest and Wheeled
Yeah.
side by side. And I very vocally said, you know, Braun, you make a great coach, but Wield might catch up with you. So
We'll see.
keep those costs in check
Yeah.
and fight for our business because it's not a guarantee.
Yeah, and thanks for the lead in. We met with another manufacturer, Horton Ambulance, in Long Beach, and they've got a really good product line too. So the remount leaves to Braun next month. They pushed it off, and we'll get it up there for remount. And then we're getting the second cycle on a lot of our ambulances for remount. And
Chief, I'm gonna interrupt you real quick.
yes,
Can you explain to us again how we reutilize a coach body as the chassis wears out and reaches end of life, and we're able to reutilize and refurbish the
Yeah.
coach in order to save?
yeah. So all of our ambulances are on a Ford chassis, a Ford 450 chassis, and then the components bolted to the back essentially are manufactured by the ambulance company. And by reusing the components manufactured outside of OEM Ford product line, the chassis wears out, but the box still maintains itself in good condition. So we're able to remount that.
And the box represents a very significant cost.
Absolutely.
It's much more than the chassis.
However, what we're getting to is with first and second remounts, you get to the point where state mandates, federal mandates, and then just the electronics get to the point where it's not as cost effective. And like, for example, these remounts went up an additional 18,000 because the new mandate for seatbelt structure in the back of the ambulance changed. And so they had to build a whole new interior structure to support new seatbelts. And so the remount to new cost is starting to balance. And so we're getting close to, in the next couple of years, we'll have to buy a new ambulance, if you will. And so our entire fleet is Braun, and we're at a good point to evaluate different manufacturers. One, to keep the competition in play.
And are we considering the factor of timeliness?
Yes, that is another factor. Ambulances are pretty good. It's the fire trucks that are the ambulance market still has quite a few vendors, and it's very competitive. And where they win is the ambulance manufacturers have a large private industry component to them, whereas fire trucks are pretty much, other than volunteer agencies, they're pretty much municipal. Their 20, 30, 40 fire truck orders are municipal orders. And so the market's locked, but I'm trying to maintain on an election day political correctness. The ambulance manufacturers, as stated, have a lot of private interests, and those private interests, as you go up the chain of who actually owns them, have a lot of lobbyists. And so ambulance manufacturers have a lot more pressure on them than a fire truck manufacturer.
Real quick, one more thing. The standardized type 1, the initiative to standardize a type 1 build, how's that going?
So, but that was the road we were going down. The problem is volume. And in order for them to redevelop a whole fire truck line to build a standard fire truck that is reduced costs and a reduced time to build, they have a number, and they don't share that number, but they need 1,000 of them committed to build it. And this is where they get into the ecosystems of, where to get to 1,000, you need LA County, you need Phoenix Fire, you need FDNY to jump in with a large order to get to the number that would make retooling a whole assembly line worth it. And those agencies all have they're not typically fans of an off-the-shelf product. They want compartments a certain way and things like, they have a way they've always done it. And so Buzz and I looked into it. Buzz did a lion's share of the work, and we weren't confident they were going to get to a place where they're going to have that product line available for the next few years. And so it just didn't feel safe to wait with our current needs. So that's why we pushed to order them.
Thanks, Chief.
And then, yeah, that's it. I'll move on if there aren't any questions to Jordan Baker.
Good afternoon. Try to keep mine somewhat brief here. So our May Day training that I talked about last board meeting concluded last week. So again, we started with a company officer led portion in the firehouses. All 15 companies did classroom training with their crews. Then we moved on to a simulation lab where we brought everybody into Station 4 and we ran them through scenarios on the computer and gave everybody a chance to operate in those different roles for our Blue Card ICS system. And then last week we took 3 days, 6 to 7 hours a day, and ran all crews through the whole district, through the 401 Jordan Road, the vacant bank. We smoked it out so they couldn't see. We didn't have to do a safety walkthrough since there was no live fire. So I think everybody but maybe Battalion Chief Wassel and Chief Lukowski were the only ones that had ever been in that structure. A lot of our other firefighters had never been in there, so they didn't know what to expect. So we ran different scenarios where we had victims from the bank that were unaccounted for. And then on each one of our scenarios, one of our firefighters, and they didn't know who it would be when they went in, ended up being the individual that called the Mayday that became lost and disoriented in the structure. So crews had to activate RIC teams that were on standby on deck outside to assist with extracting those lost or disoriented firefighters out of the building. And again, zero visibility. So it was actually a really good training, got a lot of great feedback, a lot of great lessons learned. I sent out a after action review organizational document to everybody yesterday for lessons learned, things that went right, and then some training guidelines, hopefully that will help and assist the company officers at company level training, getting more proficient at that. So
I want to jump in. Our smoke generator, it's a sucralose product. It's a sugar product that generates smoke. It was good enough to where we had some concerned citizens stop, even though there's fire trucks and fire, they were stopping by. Is it on fire? And I was like, no. To see all the fire truck, we're already here. It's good, but it was legit. It looked real.
What excites me is me, Lance's economies of scale and repurposing. Or the unique opportunity for this building, we pay $2.23 million for. We're going to utilize it as a training tool. And this never happens. Right?
Yeah. Acquired structures are super rare for us.
So that is so cool. I'm commending you.
It's great. I wish there was an opportunity for us to be able to train in more of these acquired structures. We've got our training center down in Cottonwood, but everybody's been in that building 20 times. You can close their eyes and they can walk around and show you where the doors are and everything. And this building, literally we had 2 smoke machines running at the same time. When I say there was zero visibility, I couldn't see my hand in front of my face right here. So
he won't admit it, but he got lost once.
I did. I will admit it. I had been in the building a dozen times. Yeah.
I did hear a rumor that there was some talk about keeping that and moving Station 4 someplace else so we could have a training facility.
I don't think the residents would appreciate it.
No, probably not. But it was a great training, and we're gonna look at utilizing that building up into the point of where they demolish it as many times as we can, including just got in contact with Sedona PD today, possibly doing some joint training with them down the road and allowing them to utilize it as well here in the near future. So
just tell them no CS gas.
Yes, we learned that lesson in the training center last year when they used it, and then we had live fire in there. It was not enjoyable.
It is unpleasant.
Very unpleasant. So anyways, training went really, really good. I think doing all 3 phases and implementing it phase by phase, just built on each phase as we moved on, and kind of a culmination last week of the 3 days. Went really well. Arizona State Fire School is coming up in September. So again, it's an annual event down in the Valley area. Number of agencies are involved, number of types of classes, from leadership to live fire to forcible entry, vehicle extrication. A lot of our driver instructors here got certified down there. So they offer a variety of classes. We've got 9 individuals. I wasn't planning on sending that many, and it's not horribly expensive. It's like $150 or $200 per individual for the class. It's staffing that always becomes the biggest issue. So working with the BCs and the crews, it just happened to be that the 9 individuals were pretty much spread out amongst the 3 crews, and it worked out great, and they're already filled and the time's covered. So we'll be sending 9 individuals down there this year.
In State Fire School, for you that have been in an industry, it's an inexpensive opportunity for our young folks to go to their first conference, if you will. It's ceremonial. They open it with pipes and drums, just like the Fire Chiefs Conference. And then, there's an awards section, and then there's all the conference stuff and their breakout classes. But it's for me, speaking for me and my experiences, it's really their first opportunity to get to a place where they can network with statewide resources, and it's inexpensive, as Jordan stated, and it kind of gets their professional ball rolling outside of the microscopic view of Sedona Fire that they've known. So it's a pretty good deal.
And we've got individuals that are attending training ranging from the driver's instructor training to the NFPA 1403 certification, become a live fire instructor to assist with our new hire orientations and our annual live fire training, which if they took that class outside of fire school would probably be close to
2,500.
10 times as much money, literally, as the cost of going down there. So it's a great opportunity to capture that annual event to get some of our individuals certified. We've got people going through instructor 1 and 2 classes down there. So it's great to be able to send that many folks down there and be able to cover them back home. 12-month evaluation. So we've got 2 individuals that'll be going through 12-month evaluations in October. So we'll get them run through, and then we'll have everybody off probation
Till November.
till we start again. So
Joy.
for now, we'll get them done in October, and we won't have anybody on probation. So looking forward to doing that. And like Chief Missoula said, some of those individuals are already making significant impacts throughout the district. Brandy Smith is one of them, firefighter Smith, and she's running a Med-El team, on a in-district fire, and then helping an off-district assignment as well. So, I mean, young folks coming in with a lot of experience prior to Sedona Fire. And it's a great addition to have those folks on our team, and just increases our depth here as an organization.
So are those because if I recollect correctly, the last class came through as 4.
3.
3?
One of them had previous experience, 5 years here.
Okay.
So did a modified, there was no reason after we discussed it, running him through an entire probation again with us, since he had worked with us for 5 years prior, had completed a probationary firefighter task book. We caught him up on some of the nuances that had changed since he had left, but very smart individual. And he left here to go work for another agency. It wasn't like he left the fire service and then got back in. So he was continuing to work for those 3 or 4 years he was gone, and then came back. So yeah, those were those 3.
Policy states thou shalt complete a probationary task book with Sedona Fire.
Yep, he got one
I've
done.
done that.
Yep. Speaking of task books, Madam Chair, I provided that engineer's task book to you. Those went live last week, and I've already had 6 to 7 individuals initiate that task book. So a lot of people were chomping at the bit, getting ready to go on that. So that was exciting for me to see. And again, going around seeing the crews doing a lot of training, it's, as Chief Missoula said, it benefits the community in their performance on scene, whether it's medical or fire. And, Fire Marshal Rydell highlighted a lot of that too, with some of the investigations and some of the fires that were able to get stopped, and just, an attic fire, not spreading throughout the whole residence. So exciting stuff. So that's all the task books now have been redone from firefighter to battalion chief. So all new, standing up committees to reevaluate those every 6 months versus waiting 10 or 12 years this time to look at them, and have to revamp the whole thing and change again. So we'll get.
Well, for the sake of my colleagues, I will tell you that the task book that I saw was very impressive. And I know that I didn't understand all of it, but I understood enough of it to know that it would be a major piece of work for someone to accomplish. So well done.
Thank you. I had a lot of help doing it too, but yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So sticking with the engineers stuff, we had the engineer promotional exam in February. Highlighted some issues we needed to fix internally as far as some of our individual competency standards that these individuals were performing and getting grading on during an assessment center. So one of our engineers is on light duty right now, Engineer Moore. I tasked him with getting all 15 engineers in the district together on a committee and looking at these ICSs and getting them fixed while it was fresh in their mind right after the assessment center in February, and get it corrected for these individuals that are initiating these new task books prior to our next assessment center. He called me today with an update. They've got, I think, 4 left, so they're making good progress. And again, it's all 15 engineers in the district that are working on these engineer ICSs. So that the subject matter experts are the ones making the recommendations and making these changes moving forward. So it's going really well, and I'm excited to see the final product with that. Fire training cadre did the same thing with the probationary firefighter MCSs. I tasked them with going through there and doing a complete overhaul and looking at those fixing a lot of outdated information and updating that. And they completed them all and got them back to me last week. So they did a quick turnaround. Again, that was probably another 8 to 10 individuals that are on the training cadre for the fire suppression side. So we're making a lot of progress, updating a lot of things that needed to be updated, and we're getting there very quick, a lot quicker than I thought we would. As far as the wellness committee, still, you can see on the dashboard, it'll cycle through. They're doing their monthly newsletters with a QR code. And I had asked them 3 months ago or 2 months ago to get out the crew workouts we were doing in 2020. They started doing that. We're on our third one right now, and it's getting a lot of good feedback. Seeing some folks from the administrative support side as well taking part in those.
Nice.
And it tracks crew's performance. Administrative, we've got a chiefs group up there, and it tracks at the end of the month, and it progresses each month how you're doing. So a little internal competition. I always like competition. I think competition breeds greatness.
I
And
have a comment about that.
Mhm.
I saw one of those up there of deadlifting, a
Yes.
fair amount of weight. And I really like seeing in red, safety
Yes.
matters or safety first. Because I worked in outpatient physical therapy for many years, and people get injured.
they do. And we've had a number of injuries here. And when I took over the wellness program, and now we've got a pretty large wellness committee, probably the biggest committee we've had since I've been hired here 25 years ago, 24 years ago. That was my emphasis, is like, hey, we're going to do these workouts, but they need to be lightweight, a lot of them body weight, and make sure that we're sending a safety message out there with them. Because the overall intent of the wellness program for me is obviously first and foremost, keeping our employees in shape, ready to perform the job and serve the citizens of our community, and have longevity after this job, but don't get hurt, and decrease those worker comp numbers, bring that cost down for the district, and do right by our public by decreasing those premiums and the number of on-duty injuries were occurring. So that was my overall goal and mission, and they're doing a really good job. The one last month was terrible. It was an assault bike challenge to see how many calories you could burn on an assault bike in a month, and it was absolutely terrible. But I never rode the assault bike until last month, and I wanted to partake in that challenge because I wanted to be up there trying to beat some of the guys that were on the crew.
It's horrible.
And it was terrible, but without that, I wouldn't have done that. And I know it's good for me to do that, and cardiovascular wellness. So I give kudos to that wellness committee. Firefighter Ehlers has kind of taken the bull by the horns on that, and he's really passionate about it. He's doing a great job. And the other individuals on the committee are really stepping up and helping with the newsletters and everything else. So just wanted to recognize them during this meeting. And that's all I've got. If there's any questions.
Well, I want to commend you. It's a relatively contemporary notion or strategy to implement long-term wellness, and then understand it plugs back into risk, and it plugs back into workers' comp and long-term disability, which has a dollar value attached to it. And so our facilities, like our new station, is built around health and wellness, short and long run of the firefighter, right? Mm-hmm. And it's difficult to explain to somebody from a previous generation or two that sees human beings as capital components, rather than these people. Because let's face it, the generations like our generation is a bus generation, and we are now tasked with passing on our knowledge and experience and value added accordingly. And it's important that we get to 65, 70, 75 without a litany. I mean, I'm from the Navy generation where I have a list this long, and that's pretty typical. And I'm heartened to see that is a cultural component here. And it's one of those things that you don't really consider or think about until, like you and like Chief, expose that spectrum, right? And then we see the results. We see the actual metrics after a year or two.
Right.
So my commendation, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And on that, I forgot to mention, Scott Schwezo is working with the new designers on Station 4 and actually looped in our wellness committee on the actual design and layout of how that wellness facility needs to look. Thunder. Oh, sorry.
I saw you grimacing back there.
I'll stop talking then. It's neat to see. It's neat to see us allowing those individuals that are passionate about this and on that committee to have some input into a legacy project like a wellness room in a station isn't a big deal to a lot of people, but it is a big deal to that committee. And so it's neat to be able to offer that to them and have them input it. So thanks for that.
That's all I got. All right, my turn.
Your turn.
They all told you. No, I know we have in the agenda fire district financials at the beginning of the year. It's not something I'm gonna hit on too heavily, but my fire district financial for this month ties to what Jordan spoke of with wellness. And I'm on the state work compensation board for Securus. It's we've got multiple fire districts in the network, us being one of them. And one of our initiatives is, we initially were hit with a strong financial burden from COVID and a presumptive cancer bill that was not funded by the state. So we had some tough financial years, and now that Securus is getting into a better financial position, our board's made up of all fire chiefs and a fire board member, and so our goal now is we're working towards an environment where we set up the package, if you will. Here's the rate, and your discounts occur here and your increased costs occur here. And those discounts is what I'm going to focus on. And we're looking at a standard package that says this. Do you annually give your firefighters an annual physical? Do you have an established wellness program? Do you have a cancer prevention program? Do you have 2 sets of turnouts? And those are all things that have been, peer reviewed and scientifically identified as things that reduce costs to employers and costs to the members and costs to their health. And so our hope is to have this list, and that'll be the criteria that we give their annual rating on costs for work comp. And just by default, Sedona Fire's been hitting that list for quite a few years now. So we're already in the loop. Because of my relationship with Securus, I realized there's a lot of fire districts that don't do physicals for their employees. They do an entry level one, and then they say good luck. And so that's another way where the work comp can get very expensive. And so I'd rather transition those dollars to training or better wellness equipment. Capital project updates. The committee, Scott and I on the committee, had a virtual walkthrough of Station 4. It was wicked. It was, if you've done any video gaming, it was like being in a video game, but we literally walked around and through the new Station 4, the colors, the room layouts, everything. And it was fascinating, but it afforded us the opportunity to little things like, hey, can we move the concrete on the back patio in a little bit so the barbecue sits in gravel so it's not staining the concrete and ruining it? And can we move this outlet over here, and can the toilet be here? And it was a very thorough walkthrough. And with that, they took some ideas and some changes, and we are waiting to hear back, but this week or next, we should have a pre-meeting for guaranteed maximum price number 1 to get prepped to come to the board. And it should be in alignment to come to the August meeting.
The demo and then the long lead items, that's what they're gonna give us. We talked about it last month. We'll have the number. It won't be finalized, but we should know before the August board meeting what that guaranteed maximum price is. And then we'll be bringing probably 2 items, a demo process, and that'll be a guaranteed maximum price. And then some long lead items. So as long as the board's comfortable with the overall number, then we can get started on the demo and long lead items and get the process rolling.
And it's garage doors, electrical boxes. Those are the things you got to order now. And it was, you'll see the list when it comes, but it's so random. You're like, gosh, I could go to Home Depot and get those, but I was just like, the detail Core has put into this. And so that being said, we're still on track. There was a couple weekish potential delay, and I asked would it behoove us to talk to the board about a special board meeting. They said no, the overall timeline is still intact, and so things are progressing as they should with the project. I'm excited about it, and again, that virtual walkthrough, I was blown away how realistic it was.
Chief, I'm wondering if at some point between now and the guaranteed maximum price finalization and all of that, it might be possible for them to let the board see that virtual walkthrough.
Yeah, they can't send it to us and us do it because it's a special software that, and you have a driver
Right.
and he was zooming in through hallways and you kind of get vertigo and you're like, slow down. And I'll ask him how we could facilitate that at the next board
I think
meeting.
it would be nice.
Yeah.
for the-
Even if it's abbreviated, just a quick walkthrough, because I mean, we were an hour and a half probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, walking
No,
through
just
this.
a quick
Yeah,
walkthrough.
because you don't want to focus on the bathroom tile. You just want to see the layout, I'm sure. I'm making assumptions.
So don't want to get nauseous.
Yeah. No, there was a couple times I'm like, whoa, slow down, because it was, once you see it, it's,
That was without headsets. Initially, they talked about putting us in headsets. I'm like, oh, we would be so sick.
yeah.
That's why we're not doing that.
Yeah, and then radio project, we met with them today. Bob's 9th iteration of frequency requests looks like they're gonna land. And that's been the big holdup on programming the rectifiers and a bunch of words I don't know. But that's been the holdup. Our last shipment should arrive this week.
Wednesday or Thursday.
And we'll have all the coffins, we have them in storage, ready to go. So the equipment's coming, it's getting here. And
Chief, is this for the tower?
the radio project,
Oh,
yeah, and so there's a slight delay due to these frequencies. And as a reminder to the board, the initial, when we were setting up the project, Bob had some frequencies and at first blush, they said, yeah, looks good. So we kind of set those aside and then turns out they weren't. So then first, second, third iteration of frequency lists were convoluted because of the government shutdowns and the FCC being closed and then backlog and blah, blah, blah. So that's what's caused the delay. And the reason I was like, pick a frequency. I mean, but the thing is, it's because of our geography with Mingus Mountain and Porcupine and Snebley Hill, those towers can hit Gila County. They can hit all over the place, farther than I knew. And so they have to be so specific. And it sounds like we're there. So that's been the holdup with that project. And then so going forward, I anticipate we're going to have much more robust reporting out on that project progress in the next few months. And so I'm excited about that. And Station 5, I don't know, ADOT, we're working with them. And I'm not trying to be flippant, but it's a process. It's baffling. So that there's an existing driveway to the piece of property that we're working with the Forest Service on. So we had to submit a pre-intrusion meeting, because we have an intrusion to the highway, to see what we need to set up for the intrusion evaluation. And then the canned process kicked back with, have you guys done a traffic study and all these things? I said, well, no, that's for a parcel that accesses this is national forest and we can't parcelize it until we get validation that ADOT's going to let us improve the driveway to said property. And so more to come. We have confirmed that APS can provide power to the property, which is a big deal.
Great.
And water should be accessible with a well. Minimal concern about archaeological impacts or environmental impacts because it's been used as a dump site.
Yeah, it was a dump.
Yeah, and there's old rubber tires, and my automotive knowledge tells me, looking at the tread, that they're probably 30s, 40s vintage tires. So it's been a dump site for quite a while. And then
It says Denman on it,
what's that?
if it says Denman.
Yeah, and so, but that being said, our APS partners, our Forest Service partners, everybody else is chomping at the bit. They're fully supportive. And just to reiterate the process, once we have a tentative understanding with ADOT that they will allow for an improved incursion to the highway and determine if there needs to be a deceleration lane or a proper turn lane, whatever they determine, then we can have a yellow book survey done and have the property we desire pinned and then assessed. And then that begins the lease process with the Forest Service. You can't outright, because of federal rules, buy a piece of dirt. They will negotiate a 30-year lease with this district, and then you fall right into the process to purchase it. And our goal and our intent is, once that happens, we can start design and lock in the cost of that property to bare land. And they've indicated that we can have a station on it for 5 years, and the final approval goes through to purchase the land, and we would get the purchased land at the cost of appraisal plus appreciation, not the improvements to the land. So that would be that would get us to where we need to be, and it wouldn't be a huge burden on the taxpayers. So that's our big capital stuff. Station 3, we had some engineering surveying work done on the drainage issues out there, trying to stop the bleed on the degradation of the foundation and the electrical. Working through that right now, and then having some quick drawings done on a slight remodel to the upstairs living space, hopefully to improve traffic flow for the crew, fix a broken kitchen, and then hopefully isolate the living area from the bay area. I call it an airlock. The LEA has a fancy term for it, but it's basically you have a 2-door entry from where the vehicles are to where the people sleep. So you have that airlock that prevents that air from transferring. And those are the big capital projects going on. And then we're doing some landscape and upkeep to the couple stations. And that's where we're at with that. Don't have any purchase order updates. The legislative update, the biggest thing that is hitting us right now is there was a bill, and this isn't specific to the district, but it has a potential to impact the district. There was a bill introduced to limit the ability for school districts to meet and confer, have unions and collective bargain. And in the 11th hour, they added police and fire to that. And so while this is a labor issue, the reason I bring it to the board is that it could, if passed, it's intended to go to the voters in November. And if passed, it will require some legwork for you all and me, because we're going to have to unwind 15 years of effort to work with our employee group, and 20 years of effort, 20 plus years of efforts. So while this is a legislative issue related to labor relations, if it's not passed, it could impact a lot of our processes. So I just I'll keep you guys in the loop on that. And then the other thing is Arizona Fire Districts Association has hired a gentleman to do a pretty comprehensive economic evaluation of fire districts across the state. And the first phase should come out mid to late fall. And they're really looking to truth out the current economic status of Arizona's fire districts and use that information to inform potential opportunities to change, improve, or alter how fire districts are funded in the state. And so obviously when that report is produced, I'll get it to the board for discussion. But I said they're anticipating late fall. Then last thing, as it relates to big projects, we've entered into a conversation with Central Arizona Fire Medical, Prescott Fire, probably Copper Canyon, Verde Valley, and us to do a shared county wage study. Wage studies usually cost about $40,000. This will break that money up amongst all of us, because the old model is you wait for somebody to do one and then you do a public records request, and that's the cheap seat version. We'd like to be a part of steering what the study evaluates so that we can get good data. And multiple reasons for that. We have language in our contract that says we will do a periodic wage study. Thing two, the battle's getting big. The Phoenix area departments, and then even regionally now, there's a lot of theft going on, and they're stealing people. It's human resource theft, up to the point where the package that CAFMA is offering right now is so lucrative that compared to other packages that Verde Valley and Copper Canyon may lose upwards of 6 employees, and which would created an environment potentially till they get medics trained up, they'd have to have an EMT only ambulance. One of their ambulances EMT only for a year while they get more medics trained up. And so those are the reasons why we want to maintain a competitive edge in the market. The game's changed, as we've talked about ad nauseum. 250 people was our typical application batch, and we just reported out 24, and we're excited about it. The game's changed, and our industry's changed. It used to be you got on, Acme Fire Department, you stayed there because it was so hard to go anywhere else. Now, the 2 employees we lost last year to Goodyear, HR sat down with them and mapped out their experience, and that informed how long their academy was going to be and how they were going to modify their onboarding process. So it's not the, hey, sucker, you want to come to our department, you got to start over scene anymore. Yeah. And so it's very expensive to train a new firefighter, and it's not as expensive to maintain relevant wages and benefits parity with other agencies. And so I just wanted to mention that, and I'm excited to have a collective energy with the region so that hopefully we can stop competing and beating each other up.
Chief, when do you anticipate that study being?
We anticipate that'll be late October is what we're shooting for. And it well before budget season was the intent. And so that we're not rushing. I'm tired and done with rushing anything. And I want things to be more fluid, as do the other chiefs. And so that's why we started this process in April. And so we're well ahead of it. We're just fine tuning what we want them to look at, because the company obviously wants to add, XM radio and all kinds of stuff to our package. We're like, no, we just want this. And so we're tweaking it, but that's my report. Any questions?
Well, I just want to make a comment on the last one, because when you and I talked a little bit about this before, I was thinking you were only looking at the salaries and and I think it's really important. I know you've shared with me, thank you, that you're going to be looking at salaries at other districts, and other areas, other departments, so that we really are competitive on the state.
We've got a legacy list of comparables we've developed with labor and other agencies that broadcasts across the state. While we're collectively doing a wage study in Yavapai County, we're using that same batch so that we're getting a picture, because we're losing people to Tucson, we're losing people to the Phoenix area, we're losing people to Prescott. So we capture a few, and we really look at comparable. This Timber Mesa, for example, they are almost identical to us in a rural environment with the same amount of ambulances, same amount of fire trucks, same amount of employees. So a lot of our comparables look at like regions too. Desirable location in the mountains. This is a desirable location in the mountains. So we look at things beyond just the basic benefits, the draw to the region, and why are people going there, so we can maintain our competitive edge.
Any other questions for the chief? If not, then we need to move into executive session. So I make a motion to go into executive session for legal advice pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3 and for consultation with the designated representative to consider its position and instruct its representative in reference to the possible disposition of real property pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A7 regarding the district-owned parcel number APN 401-1711019M located at the station number 4 annex on Forest Road in Coconino County. Could I have a?
Can you repeat?
I'll let you read it.
I would say so moved.
But Madam Chair, Mr. Whittington, is this the point where she clarify who'd be in attendance?
No, typically she'll do that. She can do it anytime she wants.
Okay, I just want to make sure we do that.
We'll do the admonition and
Okay.
Clarify that. So,
in executive session.
yes, so we're in executive session. So, okay. All right, we're back in session. So I would entertain a motion to authorize the chief to declare the district-owned parcel APN-17019M located at Station Number 4 Annex on Forest Road in Coconino County as surplus for public auction, following the directions provided to him in executive session and pursuant to ARS 48-80518. Do I have a seconder? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. If you have your direction. Next item is the possible approval of expenditure for a new tower at the Sedona Airport.
Okay, so this has been in our capital plan for a couple of years, for many reasons that have been discussed. We didn't get to the point of manifesting this project. We are there now. The bottom line is the current tower is it needs repairs, and the repairs are substantial, and it brings us to the point where you evaluate, do we just replace and make it a 50-year product, or we repair and then replace in 10 years? Is basically where we're at. This new tower will not only accommodate the current infrastructure, but any expected upgrades for quite a while. The 200,000 not to exceed was the anticipated price. We did find an erector style tower that's a standard. It's not a one-off. It's a standard, Ford, Chevy, Dodge tower that will meet our needs, and it's coming in at $26,000. And then the unknown cost right now is the concrete footer. It is an astonishing piece of architecture. The amount of concrete required, and with concrete prices and fluidity, I have a high level of confidence we're probably gonna, and new cabling and things, we're gonna hit more into the $150,000 or $70,000 range. But the capitalized anticipated budgeted expense is $200,000. So that's why we're asking tonight for a not to exceed price of $200,000 for the tower. In the event we need specialized brackets or equipment is damaged, because what we're going to do is it's literally being built adjacent to our current tower, and then they string cabling across, and they ferry all the equipment from the old tower to the new tower, and then install it to our new components that we've received. So while final price hasn't been landed, we know that there's a not to exceed of 200, and in anticipation something might be damaged or have to be repaired with the transition, we wanted to keep it at the current expected budgeted. And as stated, it's already in capital and has been. So
I have a question.
Yes.
It's been in the capital budget for 200,000.
For 200,000 for 2 years.
Right.
And it just, there's some other, there was some relationships with the airport that required work to set this all up, because, and the reason we wanted it, we had a lot of discussion about this. We're probably a month and a half out from getting, other than potential damage and everything else, getting trued up costs. But we know now, we're confident enough that it's not going to exceed 200,000, and delaying this ask.
It will.
Well, there's permitting that the county is way behind right now. That was thing one that concerned us. Thing two, we have to submit to the FAA for notification of tower work and crane work adjacent to an airport, and then we have to submit to the FCC. And so the concern was, we have a high level of confidence it will not exceed 200,000. But if we waited to get final concrete pricing and all the wrap up, the fear was this would push the permitting process and the federal process into the spring. And so it would conflict our current radio upgrade project with all the new components. So that's why this ask is coming to you in this fashion tonight.
Thank you, Chief.
Other questions, the chief?
This has been on the books for a long time.
Well, I want to commend Bob, and we have a vendor that we utilize, Merit Technologies, for some of the stuff. And the tower piece of it was expected to be a lot more, but working to find something that is an off the shelf I know there's no shelf that holds a tower, but that is basically off the shelf and an erector set, saved a substantial amount of money and still met our needs. Oh, yeah, it's on contract with DPS so it's, you know, we didn't have to go out for bid and DPS does really good work with their contract.
Make it easy.
So I move that we approve an expenditure for a new tower at the Sedona Airport North Tower site in an amount not to exceed $200,000. Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Go build a tower.
Well, we got some hoops once.
Okay, and our last item under discussion possible action is for an amendment to the memorandum of understanding that we have with the International Association of Firefighters Local 3690 Sedona chapter. Chief, back to you.
Yes, so a couple months ago, as you're aware, we modified the IFF MOU to include an executive group as a negotiating body, and that includes the battalion chiefs and the division chiefs. And with that, as you also know, we do meet and confer on a cycle, and we made the decision to meet and confer off cycle of the ASEA and the IFF 3690 because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of meetings, and it was to deconflict it. And so, long story short, after Chief Baker was the representative for the battalion chiefs and the division chiefs, and before you is a summary of the language that would be edited in the executive portion of the MOU as it relates to the drop contribution and the sick and vacation buyout program. And this no other changes to the MOU, and that's why we broke out just the requested asks so that you didn't have to read the whole MOU again because nothing else changed.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, and we talked about it. Should we just put the amended MOU in or just the highlights? And Helen said, let's do the highlights.
Can I ask another question?
Please.
On this? Is there a minimum amount of vacation time that's required for our personnel to take?
Yes,
And what is that?
it is 25%.
25% of
Their
the,
accrual. Annual accrual.
which would be on average, how much time?
Oh, gosh,
Depends on years of service.
yeah, and there's different accrual rates for 53-hour-a-week employees and 40-hour employees. And then there's,
These though are your executives. so,
yes,
They've been here a while.
yes. So it would be, oh, gosh. I didn't even consider that to math out.
Well, I don't want a situation where we're incentivizing people to cash out unless we know that they're gonna take a minimum
Well-
number of hours.
So this language is restrictive and it reflects my contract.
Okay, so let's look at your contract. How much time do you earn in a year?
I'd have to do the math, but ultimately what these numbers reflect is creating an environment where it's not a cash payday, it's a pay down, but you still reserve enough to do, so you're not getting in the negatives or,
I get that.
yeah.
Totally get that. That it's on your books, but are you required to take any? And
Yes.
There's those people that go through their government paid jobs and stay in them and don't take time.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure if we're going to cash out any of it, that we require them to actually take them.
We required them to take it, and typically with this executive group, 3 of the 5 are in the drop, and or 5 of the 6 are in, or 4 of the 6 are in the drop. And what that means is they are taking more time generally, and we're buying down their balance in their last few years. So then their in leave liability is less of a burden, but no.
It's in policy that we have to take that percentage off. 25%. It's in policy that we have.
Is that a week? Is that 2 weeks?
No, it's annually. It's annually
I mean.
Oh, the
2
number
weeks
of
annually.
hours?
Yeah, how many hours are we?
25%.
Generally.
Again, it just depends on.
It doesn't.
What is your, I don't even know, Mark.
Chief, do you want your contract?
11.23 times 26 minus 25. So for a 40-hour, it'd be 73 hours.
And so basically for a 40-hour employee, it requires them to take 2 weeks off a year, required.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm good with that. Thanks.
Sorry, you always have good ones. And I didn't anticipate that question at all. That was great.
And actually, you get
It's because that's what she does. And I'm very grateful that she.
notice from payroll if you don't, that you haven't.
Oh yeah, you get a nasty gram from Kiona if
They'll
you
let
don't
you know
take
if
your
you
time.
haven't taken your time.
In that case, we're good.
Yeah.
Then you lose hours.
Yeah, you'll lose hours if you don't take them. You'll stop accruing hours, but they'll let you know like, hey, you have not reached the cap and we're nearing the end of the year, so you need to schedule your time off.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
The department does a good job making
And-
sure people take their
And
time.
I can't put this in a document because it's impossible, but culturally, our people are recognizing the mental health benefits of it. But Buzz is going to a stinking Cubbies game this weekend, you know?
Yeah. I want us to recognize it too when we make these kinds of
No, I really appreciate
moves.
that.
Okay.
All right, so can I have a motion to approve the amendment to the memorandum of understanding with the IAFF Local 3690 Sedona chapter?
So moved.
Do I have a seconder?
A second.
Any further discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. The amendment is approved.
Thank you.
Okay,
That will be in a DocuSign for you.
all right. Sign it. All right. Any board member updates or ideas for future meetings? And I will throw one small curve into this because 3 of us have recently attended the after meeting. So I would ask my 2 colleagues, what was the thing that you took away from that you want to share?
Nearest. So I took the nearest course and I'm still waiting on the PDF because it was a really good presentation. I like the fact that, and you know, we're dealing with this now where, well, you as a chief, the staff have to convince us in a hopefully in a collaborative fashion, what your end goals are. And I found it interesting that they wove that into the utility of NERIS, right?
Yeah. Once they get it figured out.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed the briefing.
Great. Scott?
Didn't do a whole lot of thinking about it, but I went in with these things where the airplanes and things were coming down. And that happened when I was doing this. That's one of those F-14s came into the El Cajon and splattered the whole airway around there. And we got to go there. And it was hellish. And what I got from there, they weren't prepped for it, you know. And then we had to walk around and ruin our uniforms because of the smoke and all that stuff. Because the big thing was get the black boxes. And that was the big thing. Everybody took all their air out and just walked around. Gee, no wonder I have asthma. So, and it just was the thing. And, you know, there's plenty of people there. But when that thing came down, it was one of those things that hit the ground. Well, I shouldn't say that way, but you had to know that you're not supposed to touch anything. They're really hard on that, but it probably is everywhere. And that was, you know, in the suburbs and the photos that they were at. I'm thinking about the one that was in Kentucky,
In Louisville,
yeah,
the UPS.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was, they were not prepped.
Well, for the benefit of the board, Kirk and I just met for a tabletop exercise with our airport and they've got a new assistant airport manager and the guy's pretty much a fireball. And I can say our airport is aware of the risks, and we are doing a lot of stuff and setting up a lot of stuff to, we're gonna be better prepared. So yeah, that's great to hear that feedback.
And I'll ask the same thing of myself. The presentation that stood out for me, and the chief, I'll be talking to you about it, was the one on violence against firefighters. And I don't know how much of that we encounter, but it really spoke to me about something that we need to attend to and make sure about.
And we, fortunately, it's rare, but
Okay.
We have a much more politicized citizenry right now than even a year ago.
yeah.
And so I think it's a really important thing for us to pay attention to.
There's a very famous line from a very good movie from 2008. It says, "Some men just like to watch it burn down." There is no end game. We have entities such as that around.
Well, and violence against our providers is you have a canned idea of what that means, but in this community specifically, a lot of times that violence may be related to dementia or a degradation of mental health. And so I think we do a really good job of covering those things, because, you know, that it's obvious that person does not want to be violent towards us, but they're not in their right mind. And so the delicate hands of our providers has time and time again been the de-escalating factor.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. I move the meeting be adjourned. Do I have a seconder?